Okay, now, Giselle, I've measured the diameter of this tabletop. You know, it's a round chipboard that they put on top of tables, so that later on I can, or you can calculate the circumference. But you're going to first of all calculate the circumference, assuming this is the Earth. Using a technique developed by a Greek sort of mathematician 1,800 years before Columbus discovered America, a long, long time ago, when most people didn't even realize the Earth was round. Yet he was able to not only see that the Earth was round, but calculate their circumference using 3 important measurements. Here are the 3 that you're going to use. First of all, we aim that directly at the sun at about noon, see, so that the shadow is at 0.
Okay.
Right like that. Now, what's the distance between this mark, which was one city, and another city up here? In our case, it's how many centimeters?
23 centimeters.
Okay, remember that, 23 centimeters. Then he also noticed the height of an object over here at the second city. What's our height of our object?
4 centimeters.
4 centimeters. Then he noticed the length of the shadow cast by this at the same time that that one was at 0. What's that one?
1.5.
Goes from 23 to 24.5.
Yeah.
Remember those 3 measurements,
Okay.
because with them, you're going to calculate the circumference of that Earth. Now, come on, let's go inside.
There. We've got everything down. We've got the length of the straw equals 4 centimeters. The distance between the straws is 23 centimeters, and the length of the shadow is 1.5 centimeters.
Right.
We got the diagram down, and we got part of it down there, and we got a yellow square here for me to do my calculations, but what am I supposed to calculate?
First of all, that's not a square, that's a rectangle. You know that, you know what, because you've said you've actually worked with circles and stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what we have to do is we move this section over here, right?
Yeah.
There's the length of the straw, and there's the length of the shadow. What we want you to do is to measure that angle right there. There's the protractor.
Okay.
Carefully now. What is it?
22 degrees.
Okay, write 22 down here on the top of your yellow rectangle.
There.
Okay? Now, notice that we just measured that angle, and that's the same as this angle down here.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay? And that angle is a percentage of a total circle. You know how many degrees there are in a total regular circle? 360,
yeah.
right? Okay, so 22 is to 360.
60.
You know how to write
Yeah.
that, don't you, as proportion? Okay. Now, the same proportion applies to this. This part of the circumference as compared to the entire circumference. You see how it's the same, the idea?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, what's this distance?
That would be 23
All right.
over
CIR, circumference. You know how to solve that problem?
Yeah.
Okay, what are you going to do?
We'd multiply 23 by 360 and then divide it by 22.
What have you got?
376. There.
That's your calculation of the entire circumference of the table based on your measurements of the angles and so forth.
Okay.
Now, you remember, I measured the diameter,
Yeah.
and I didn't tell you what it was. The Greek mathematician who did this thousands of years ago didn't have anybody tell him what the real circumference of the Earth was.
Yeah.
So he had to just sort of rely on how good his calculations were. But this time, you can check your calculations because I assume you can figure out what the circumference of the table is if I give you the diameter.
Okay.
How do you do that?
We multiply the diameter by pi, which is 3.14.
Okay. The diameter, let's assume the diameter was 120 centimeters.
Okay.
Go ahead.
120 times 3.14 equals...
Okay.
3.14 equals
What is it?
377.
Look,
Only off by 1.
1. Now, isn't it amazing that using this sort of system, you can come that close?
Yeah.
Who was your math teacher last year?
Mr. Perry.
Well, you tell Mr. Perry you did a good job with the mathematics. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've seen one of these before, Philip?
Yeah, with some of the fried chicken companies.
Yeah, it looks something like fried chicken comes in, but this one is not. See the things that are on the outside there?
Yeah.
What does that say is inside, probably?
Well, those are papers, so you probably put paint in there.
Right, that's what most people would think, that this is a cardboard paint bucket that you can throw away. But it's the most important, or at least a very important part of a magnifier.
It is?
Yeah. Here's what you do. First of all, you take that thing like that, and you cut some holes in it, see?
Okay.
There and there.
Do they have to be totally opposite of each
Not
other?
necessarily, you'll see. Because in a art supply store, you can buy these domes that you put over flowers and that sort of thing. But this time, you turn it upside down and put it like that.
Okay.
Now, you take this card, and I will now add the magnification factor.
Okay.
What is that?
Water.
Water. And notice that the plastic was round at the bottom,
Yeah.
and now it's flat on top, just like a magnifying glass. Put the king of diamonds in there and take a look. Look at that.
It magnifies it.
Right. So that's how you can make a water magnifier with a paint bucket and a plastic dome.
Okay.
Now, maybe you won't have a dome like that at home, and maybe you won't even have a plastic or a cardboard bucket. Here's how you can make another one. Same idea. Plastic pail, get some plastic wrap. See, put holes in the side, even in the bottom. Put the king of diamonds in there, and I'll add the magnifying factor. Take a look. What do you see?
Well, with the dome, it makes it
It magnifies it. Yeah, and this isn't quite as good, is it? Because it isn't as nice and smooth,
Yeah.
but it still will magnify.
Yeah.
So the next time you see a paint bucket, what are you going to call it?
Bucket magnifier.
Very good. Danielle, here's a piece of cardboard, and I want you to tell me how many squares are in there. And you've had area in school.
Yes.
You know how to multiply and do that, all that stuff?
Right,
Okay,
like
how many
the
squares are in there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you multiply
Right.
8 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, and write it down here on this piece of paper. 8 by 8, right?
Yeah. It equals 64.
Okay, now watch. I'm not going to add another piece of cardboard or anything. All I'm going to do is move those out here like that and turn this one like that. Put this one up here and put this one down here. And now I would like you to do the same thing. Go ahead.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, 13 times 5.
That equals 65, but there's something wrong.
Why?
Because there's one extra square.
So are you sure of your mathematics?
Yes?
8 times 8 is definitely 64.
Right.
13 times 5 is definitely 65.
Right.
So where did the extra square come from? This is sort of a variation of the sort of trick that's in a lot of children's books. So, and the explanation is, regardless of what the shape is, that these are not squares anymore. That's a square here, or that's a square, but look at this one. See that dimension?
Yes.
You see that dimension?
Yes. It's
What?
not equal.
It's not the same.
No.
This one's shorter, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you take a little bit from all the squares along this little line, you get one extra square. So the
Okay.
correct answer is the total number of squares is really what?
64.
Right, because now they are really squares.
Right.
So don't let them fool you the next time with an extra square.
Okay, I'll be careful.
I assume you've done that before many times, Damon?
Yes.
And you didn't realize that when you were blowing, you just thought you were trying to pump air into the balloon.
Yeah.
But actually, you're doing something else as well. In fact, here, now blow this one up, and go ahead. Okay, now, you could blow it up, okay? But this time I'm going to cover the end of this sort of lamp chimney. It has a hole at each end, but I've covered that one over with a balloon. I'm going to put this thing that comes, you know, the hamburgers,
Yeah.
leftovers. Okay, so can you blow in the little hole? How come it didn't collapse?
Well, when you put that down, no air can get in, so it stays at the same spot.
So, oops, there, I let it go. So obviously, when you blow up a balloon, you're pushing against the air pressure. And you don't just don't sort of realize it. Here's another one another version of that was invented by Dave Harpster. In this case, there's a balloon here and a cork there. Okay, so blow that one up.
I can't.
Why not?
Well, because when I try to blow it up, the air can't get out. When it's
Right.
trying to expand, it pushes the air, but the cork
Right.
stops.
Try once, just for the heck of it. Okay, now I'll take the cork out. You should be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, why doesn't it collapse?
Well, when you put the cork in, it held all
Yeah,
the air in.
and this is a hard surface, so the air can't get in and push down on it, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, here is a tricky version that a little hard to blow up, so I think I'll do it.
Okay.
I'm going to do 2 balloons with 1 blow.
Okay.
Why did the second one blow up?
Well, when you blew up the pink one pushed all the air into the red one. So
Well,
they
it pushed a lot of the air into here, into that one, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that shows that I obviously had to get rid of the air here because it went into there.
Right.
Now, this time I'll take this balloon off. You blow up, you take the thing, will you? With both hands so you don't drop it. Well, I want you to blow into here, and then when it's nice and full, I'm going to put this balloon over the end of the other hole. Okay, now wait a minute. Okay, are you ready?
I'm
blow
ready.
it up. Okay. Now, if I can get this balloon inside, you can blow up one and collapse the other. Very good. Okay. Because you're actually blowing against air pressure when you blow up a balloon. Tyler, I assume you can name the important organs of the body.
Okay, there's the heart, and the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver, and the brain.
One you're forgetting, however, most people, as a matter of fact, don't even think about it, and that's this one right here.
My skin?
Yeah, your skin. It's
I
a very
didn't know the
important
skin
organ.
was an
After
organ.
all, keeps out germs, right?
Yeah.
Keeps the rain from falling inside of you. Yeah. Also,
protects
water
you.
evaporates from, keeps you cool, and so forth. So just to sort of emphasize how important your skin is, I would like you to try to estimate the total area of your skin.
Okay.
In order to do that, see these pieces of paper I have here?
Yeah.
4,200.
4,200.
That's
and,
square centimeters and that
21.
one and so forth. Which one of those do you think comes closest to representing your skin?
I guess one of the 4,200 centimeters.
Okay, so now we have to measure your skin.
Okay, sure.
Just to make sure you understand, here's a, let's assume that your arm
Okay.
is that round and that long.
Okay.
And to find then the total area, we have to multiply
The circumference,
circumference
times the length.
times the length, okay?
Okay.
So let's do that. And I have already got it all set up for you to keep your
Okay.
records right here. You see the first one?
Yeah, there's the fingers.
Okay. Length of fingers,
7 centimeters.
okay. Circumference,
About 6.
okay. Times,
42 times 10,
10.
because I have 10
Right.
fingers.
okay.
It's 420.
Okay, write that in there. Next, arms.
Okay.
Length,
52 centimeters.
circumference,
It's about 23 centimeters.
okay. Times 10?
No, times 2, because I have
Okay.
2 arms.
Okay.
I've got 2,392.
All right. And your original guess?
My guess was 400
Four-
or
four-
4,200.
Yes.
And at the rate I'm going, since I've only got fingers and arms, I'm going to be way too low.
Right, you're way too low. Okay, let's try your legs.
Okay.
Roughly length,
About 80 centimeters.
okay, circumference,
It's about 43.
multiplied by,
2, because I have 2 legs.
right,
6,880.
wow. That's more than the 4,200 right there, just in your legs. Next, as you see, is head.
Yeah,
and
the
your
head.
head is not a cylinder, right?
It's more like an egg, yeah.
All right, more like a sphere, but we'll assume it's a cylinder for our purposes.
63.
And so we got to get the height. It's about like that.
About 23.
Okay.
I've got 1,449.
Not times 2.
No, I've only got one head.
All right. Torso. Length.
It's about 42.
Okay, circumference.
68. I've got 2,856.
Okay. Notice, by the way, we did not include your toes. You have 10 of
Okay,
those, right?
yeah.
And your digestive tract, which is considerable, and it's a sort of special skin that keeps germs from getting inside of you. Your ears.
Yeah, the skin
Right,
inside
the skin
your
inside
ears.
there. And our measurements were very rough indeed.
Yeah, they
but
weren't
it'll
accurate.
give you a general idea. So get ready to add them up.
Okay.
I'll read them off and you add them up. Ready?
Sure.
Fingers, 420. Arms, 2392. Legs, 6880. Head, 1449. Torso, 2856. What do you got?
I've got 13,997.
Okay. Write
That's
it down.
way above.
Yeah, way above. Off by a factor of what? About 3. So come on over here. Let's take a look at what represents your skin on the floor there. And what do you need?
Well, I've got 4,200. 4,200. That's 8,400. And then I've got 10,100.
Right there.
I'm gonna need all of these
Not
to
all,
make up
but you need some
all my
more
skin.
that aren't even on the
Yeah,
floor.
I'll need a lot more too.
So anyway, I hope you'll realize what an important organ your skin is.
Okay.
Scientists using sophisticated equipment have found that lightning can be 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, can produce more power than a large electric utility, and can be made up of 20 or more strokes, with the visible one lasting millionths of a second. No wonder it's one of nature's most spectacular displays.
Shan, today you're going to be a field biologist. I don't know if you know what that means, but there are some biologists who work in laboratories, but there are others who go out into the woods and deserts and various places to study animals. And you can find out a great deal about an animal by finding out what it eats. For example, the barn owl, you've heard of them.
Yeah.
You know, they live around barns most of the time. Well, they catch animals and they swallow them whole. Then they go down into a sort of gullet where everything they can digest is digested. And what they can't digest is now coughed up into a pellet which drops onto the ground. And that's what you have sitting in front of you right there. That came from inside an owl. And by taking it apart, you should be able to tell what the owl ate. And here are some tools. Here's the tweezers that you can, because some of the bones and things will be very fine. Here's a safety pin, a great big one opened up, which you can use to poke. And here is a little thing with a hook on the end so that you can tear things apart. Now, as you, well, why don't we take it apart a little bit and see what you find so far? It looks like something on the end right there, right?
Yeah.
Here, let me poke into, ooh, it's hard. Right? Careful now. You have to be very careful because you don't want to break the bones if they are bones.
Oh, and there's a little one.
Oh, yes, and here, that looks like the back end of a skull. Now, wait a minute. As you go about, keep track of all those little bones because I'm going to leave this with you. And you can identify the whole animal sometimes by just the sort of peculiar bones that you run across, like the skull or these parts of the teeth and so forth. Then I'll also give you this book, which is The Barn Owl and the Pellet. And inside there are all kinds of clues that will help you identify what kind of an animal it is. So are you all set?
Yep.
When you get finished, lay all the bones out and see if we can identify the animal. All right?
Okay.
Good luck.
Those large tanks are full of pickles. Pickles, of course, are made from cucumbers by the action of bacteria in a process known as fermentation. A byproduct is the production of carbon dioxide gas. To allow it to escape, the tanks had to have an opening to the air. Unfortunately, that meant microscopic molds and yeasts in the air could enter the tanks and spoil the fermenting pickles. To kill the unwanted organisms, lots of salt was added. Scientists with the U.S. Agricultural Research Service and North Carolina State University improved the process by figuring out a way to process the pickles in closed tanks. In experiments in the lab, they found that nitrogen gas bubbled through the liquid removes the carbon dioxide gas that's produced by the fermentation. With closed tanks keeping out the molds and yeast, pickles could be produced with much less salt. They improved the process in another way. In the past, the fermentation was more or less uncontrolled because it was due to whatever bacteria were on the cucumbers at the time they were harvested. Now, however, the cucumbers are washed before they're put into the tanks. Specially selected bacteria are then added to do the fermentation. Of course, the ultimate test is how the new pickles taste. The result? Improvements in a process that previously had changed very little since man learned how to ferment cucumbers into pickles.
How you doing, Shan?
Oh, great. I learned a lot about what owls eat.
You sure did. Look at all the bones you found.
Yeah.
Can you identify the animal? That's the big question.
I think the owl ate a bird.
What makes you say that?
Well, the skull that I found here,
Mm-hmm.
in the book, all the skulls of birds are rounded
Mm-hmm.
at the back,
Mm-hmm.
and the other animals are have almost jaggedy skulls at the back.
Right.
So I assume that's a bird skull.
Very good. Good conclusion. Any other evidence?
Well, I think this is the beak,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that got broken off while I was
Taking
digging
apart.
it apart,
Yeah,
right.
could be.
So I think that's the beak of the bird. And over here, all these bigger bones, I think are the leg bones of this bird.
Right.
And some of them possibly could belong to another animal,
Oh, really?
which I found.
Oh, well, tell me about that one first.
Okay,
What's that?
this I think is the
Looks
wishbone.
very familiar to me, yes, a wishbone,
wishbone.
which birds have, of course. Now,
Right.
what's this about the other animal?
Okay, well over here, I found some teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that some of those bones might have belonged to the animal with all these teeth. Because no, birds don't have
birds
teeth.
don't have teeth.
Right.
So it's possible that the owl ate two animals one after the other and
Right.
put them, all the bones or all what it couldn't digest into one pellet. Oh, that sort of complicated matter, didn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Right.
For scientists trying to put
Yeah.
it together.
So I can see why you thought the leg bones could have come from another animal.
Yeah.
Well, you did very. What are these little bones, you suppose?
Well, I think they might be part of the wing of the bird.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Because they're
these
sort of like little
ones.
fingers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I told you, remember, you were going to be a field biologist to learn something about an animal by examining what it leaves behind. You did a beautiful job. A bird and some other unknown animal. And it was sort of like a jigsaw puzzle, right?
yeah.
Only using
trying
real
to put
bones.
it together.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thanks.